Can you hear me now? I'm going to do the best I can. I'm going to scream. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Great!
Well, it's a good problem to have. It's because we have so many people here. Thank you. What a crowd. My name is Peter Wolfgang. I'm the Executive Director of the Family Institute of Connecticut. And we are not alone. This is one of several rallies happening in 140 cities across this country today, all for the purpose of standing up for freedom. That is why we are here. Family Institute is proud to stand with Connecticut Right to Life, who helped organize this rally and chose several speakers that you will be hearing from over the next hour or so. I won't read off the list, but you'll learn who they are in a few minutes. Some housekeeping. We have Larry Taffner and some volunteers from the Family Institute. Where are you guys? Wherever, they're going to be walking around in the crowd with packets and with sign-up sheets. If you're not already on Family Institute's email, we need you. We need you. This battle is not just one rally. It's not 140 rallies on one day. It's going forward. It's not going to stop, and we need you for what's coming. So please, as our friends make the way through the crowd, sign up for Family Institute's emails. We're here today, as you heard from Father Looney, because of this healthcare reform, known colloquially as Obamacare. It's a mandate. Because of Obamacare, a mandate has come down from Health and Human Services, HHS, just in the last few months, that will require religious institutions to pay for and provide abortion-inducing drugs, contraceptives, and sterilizations, even if it violates our conscience. Is that right? No! So we're here today to say no to that we will fight, we will resist. And you will be hearing from clergy and public officials and one national figure who asked that I speak before him. So that's what I'm going to do now. I want to clear up a few of the myths regarding the HHS mandate. This is not about contraceptives. No one is trying to ban contraceptives. We have had a war inside the Catholic Church for about 40 years amongst ourselves over church teaching. But even those of us who are faithful to church teaching are not trying to we're not trying to pass a law to ban contraceptives. So when the other side says that we're trying to ban contraceptives, that it's a war on women, they're lying.
Right.
Do not accept the lies. Do not accept the lies from the other side. When Connecticut's own Congressman Chris Murphy tweets every 30 seconds on Twitter that there's a war on women, he is not telling you the truth. Tell Congressman Murphy he's not telling you the truth. When Governor Malloy goes on MSNBC and claims that 28 states, that a majority of states already live under this mandate, that is a falsehood. Tell Governor Malloy to stop misrepresenting this. This is not a war on women. The churches, by the way, the Catholic Church, all the Christian communities, people of faith, we are the greatest defenders of women in this country. We need to get that message out as well. This is not about the Catholic Church. This affects the religious liberty of every one of us, regardless of what our denomination is. If the federal government can do this, if the federal government can do this to the Catholic Church, it can do it to any one of us of any belief, of any background. The federal government could pass a law requiring that delis provide pork. Now, who would go to a Jewish deli for pork? Well, who would go to the Catholic Church for contraceptives? The craziness has already begun. This is not about the Catholic Church. It's an attack on the First Amendment. It's an attack on all of us. And we need to understand the novelty, the unprecedented nature of this attack. Those of us who are Catholics, we know that there has been at times a history of anti-Catholicism in the United States. There was mob violence in Boston in the 1830s when the Ursuline convent was burned down, but that was a mob. That wasn't the government. In fact, it was the government, run at the time by Protestants, that stepped in and protected the church from the mob violence in the 1830s. Some of us are familiar with the Blaine Amendments that they tried to introduce into the U.S. federal Constitution in the 1800s. They never did, but they passed these Blaine Amendments at the state level in many state constitutions, preventing public monies from going to Catholic institutions. But again, that was state government. It only affected a portion of the United States. What we have here is something that's unprecedented. Going back to the enacting of the First Amendment, the Bill of Rights, in 1791, never in the history of our country has the federal government attacked our religious liberties the way they are doing today. And we will say no. We will resist. We will resist. The federal government in the HHS mandate is redefining what a religious institution is. They actually do have a very narrow exemption for religious liberty. Are you ready for this? You qualify for this exemption if your religious institution hires only members of your own denomination and serves only members of your own denomination. So it would be as if St. Francis Hospital here in Hartford were to take all its Jewish and Muslim and atheist patients and throw them out onto the street and then put a sign in their employment office saying Protestants need not apply. That's what St. Francis would have to do to qualify for that exemption. Has that ever been the definition of religious institution in our country? No. Under that definition, Mother Angelica's nuns at EWTN would be required to pay for contraception. Focus on the family. Colorado Christian College, you name it. It's crazy. The federal government has never tried to define for us what a religious institution is, or in this case, to redefine. Another danger. The federal government is redefining what health care is in our law. If the federal government has now determined that contraceptives and sterilizations and abortion-inducing drugs are health care, why not surgical abortions? Why not assisted suicide? Where does it stop? We will resist. Two more points and I'll go to our main speaker. There are huge fines if you resist this mandate. There are few crimes in the history of the United States where the penalty is as high as it is if you don't do the HHS mandate. They say Notre Dame University alone would have to pay $10 million a year. This is part of an effort to redefine what religious liberty is, to limit it simply to the right of worship as a way of kind of pushing religious influence out of the public square altogether as something you can do in your homes or your churches, but that's it. Are we going to stand for that? No! No. Another thing that should concern, and we have people here of all faiths, but I want to say something to my fellow Catholics. This mandate originally came down in January of this year, just a few months ago, and you remember there was this tremendous outpouring of outrage. In the Obama administration, what they did was they tweaked it a couple weeks later, and they came up with something called an accommodation. And what they said was, oh, well, I know, what do we think of that accommodation? Quote-unquote accommodation. What they did was they said, okay, we won't require the institutions to pay for this directly. We'll require the insurance companies to give it for free. Now, we're in the insurance capital of the world. People here understand insurance. Is that going to work? No! Of course, it's going to be passed on to the premiums, and they're still requiring us to pay for it. Here's what I want to say to my fellow Catholics. When the outrage came down against that initial mandate, what the Obama administration did, they didn't talk to the bishops, they didn't talk to the Pope. They reached out to Sister Carol Keehan, who is this one nun who's the head of this hospital association. She helped the president pass Obamacare a couple years ago, and they crafted the accommodation to meet her needs. They said, what would make you happy? They refuse to talk to the bishops, who are the proper locus of authority in the Catholic Church. They refuse to talk to the Pope. Is it the role of the Obama administration to make Sister Carol Keehan our Pope? No! Is it the role of the federal government to determine who will be the proper authority, who will set policy for the Catholic Church in the United States? No! We've seen this sort of thing before. This has never happened in the history of the United States, but it's happened in other times and places around the world. It's happening right now in China, where they have what they call a patriotic Catholic Church that is government controlled, and the actual Catholic Church is underground. This is happening with the Protestants in China as well. And we're not quite there yet, but with the Obama administration determining for us, no, you Catholics, your bishops and your Pope will not speak for you. Sister Carol Keehan, America Magazine, they'll speak for you. You can see our federal government, for the first time, taking the first steps in that direction. We will resist. We will resist. We're going to go now. Thank you. And that's all I have to say on it. Other than do sign up for the Family Institute's emails. People are circulating. Thank you.